Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our very first speaker series with Alex Budak. Say hello to everybody, Alex. We're so super excited. Thank you so much for joining. Of course, I am Marla Alberti. I am the founder of IO for Teens. We're happy that you're watching this episode. And of course, we have our CFO on the line, Dr. Jamila Donnell. Say hello, everybody, Jamila.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into this here in a little bit. I'm going to read the bio for Mr. Alex here, and we're going to go into talking about a change maker and how you can be a change maker. So, but before we do that, this is on YouTube, guys. We need you to subscribe. So hit the subscribe button down below. And we also need you to hit the like button, smash it. Just hit the like button because we need as many followers as we can. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and read Alex's bio here. So Alex Budak is a UC Berkeley faculty member, social entrepreneur, and author of Becoming a Changemaker. I can't wait to talk about it. At UC Berkeley, Alex Budak created and teaches the wildly popular course, Becoming a Changemaker, directs the Berkeley Has Global Access Program, and teaches in Berkeley executive education programs. He previously co-founded the Start Some Good, which he can talk to us about. I want to hear more about that. Start Some Good, which has helped over 1,200 change makers in over 50 countries raise millions of dollars to launch and scale new change initiatives. I just love that. His book, Becoming a Change Maker, has been adopted by universities all around the world, and his work has been featured in Washington Post, Fast Company, and Inc. He is a graduate of UCLA and Georgetown University. You can find out more about Alex at alexbudak.com. And most importantly, his two most favorite change makers are his wonderful wife he's married to, as well as his toddler son. Welcome, Alex. We're so excited you're here with us.
Marla, I'm delighted to be with you. Super fun to be here. And Jamila, great to be with you as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So as you know, obviously this is our nonprofit, right? IO for Teens. So we're trying to make changes in the ways teenagers think about their future, about their confidence, about who they are as individuals. So I just want to start with the first question here. Why write a book about change making, especially now in our time? We're coming off of a pandemic. Talk to us about that, Alex.
Because of people like you, Marla, like the work you're doing, you're a change maker. You're supporting others to be change makers. And that's really what this is all about. The book came out of a class, as you mentioned, that I teach at UC Berkeley Haas, and I'm driven by this belief that there's change makers literally all around the world at all levels, people that can affect change in a way that's true to who they are. And so in writing this book, it's my effort to try to get these ideas out into the world. It's not a book just for the sake of reading a book. I hope it's a call to action. I hope people read it and they feel like, yeah, I see a bit of myself in this book. And I hope I feel a bit more courage, a bit more permission, a bit more agency to go lead change because of it.
Yeah, I love that. And something you said in the book there, Alex, as I was listening to it on my Audible, you said that when you had started the class, right, you were surprised to walk in and students were standing on the walls, standing outside. Like, what did that do for you? What did you not think people wanted to be change makers? Tell me about that moment when you walked in the class and saw all these students signed up for your class. They could have taken, I think you said, over 4,000 classes at UC Berkeley, but they chose yours. So tell me about that moment.
Well, it's funny, right? Because we often hear what it's like on the first day of class for students. Perhaps a lot of people watching this remember the first day and, the nerves that come, you're stepping in a new room, who will be in there with me? Who will I know? Will my friends be in my class? And for a first-time faculty, it's a different set of nerves, I think, because most people that start teaching at a university usually take a very traditional path, right? Mm-hmm. So you normally have a PhD. I don't have a PhD. Yeah. And you normally sort of go and you adopt an existing class. So you take over a class from some other faculty that's taught it for 20 years. Yeah. I had a traditional path, a changemaker path, I guess. And so this class was really unlike any class that I knew of anywhere in the country. And it was brand new. And so I walked into the classroom and I really did not know what to expect. There's a good chance I've started enough things to know that oftentimes it's really hard to get people to take a chance on a first-time faculty, a first-time founder. Yeah. And so I went in with kind of low expectations, just hoping students would be there. And then, as you mentioned, the class was packed. There were students literally sitting on the steps and in the windowsills. Like everyone was there wanting to be a change maker. And that was my hope and my dream, but it really reinforced that people are hungry for this, that people do see that they have a chance to make change and that there's more we can do as educators to help them get there. But there's this raw eagerness and enthusiasm that's there. And I mean, what a privilege to get to teach these students and to sort of meet them where they are.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. When I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I would have freaked out if I would have walked in and saw that all these students, like, oh my goodness, everyone's here, here to take my class. So that is amazing. I love how you said that you took a non-traditional path, and that is also sending messages out to the world that yes, I don't have a doctorate degree, right? But I can go in and I can pitch a class. The gentleman that you spoke to in the book, I forget his name, but the gentleman you spoke about in the book said, okay, go out and write me a syllabus. The first thing you did was you Googled a syllabus, because I didn't know what to do. You're like, I'm going to go Google how to do a syllabus. So that's what we're trying to teach these teenagers. Look, if you have an idea, right, you had an idea, you went out there and Googled it. Google's our best friend. And so let's talk about some of these characteristics, because you mentioned in the book, there's quite a few of them. You speak about characteristics of a change maker. And can you expound on those characteristics? First, list them out and expound on what does it take, and how can we infuse this into our next generation?
Yeah, if it's all right with you, I'll start with a poem. So I love poetry. So I'll start with a poem. This is the words of Amanda Gorman. So she, of course, gave the poem "The Hill We Climb," inauguration of Biden and Harris. And I think the final 3 lines of her poem are a wonderful embodiment of what it means to be a change maker. So she says, "For there's always light if we're brave enough to see it, and if we're brave enough to be it." So this idea, there's always light, right? So we are facing real systemic challenges in the world, and we shouldn't pretend that there aren't those challenges. But I think changemakers have this fundamental belief that tomorrow can be better than today, and that we can play a role in making sure that it is, for there's always light. But then the next part, if we're only brave enough to see it, we often think that vision is something that only the CEO or the executive director or the school principal has, the kind of formal leader. But I think vision is something that each of us can have. Vision can come in many forms. It could be noticing a status quo that needs to be disrupted, or maybe it's a system that's unjust and needs to be challenged. But being able to see things that others may not see quite yet is a crucial part of being a change maker. It's always light, for brave enough to see it. But then that third part, for brave enough to be it. Change making takes courage, and we shouldn't pretend that it doesn't. It takes courage to stand up and say, look, I think that the future can be better. I think there's something we can do about it. Maybe I really believe in this cause, whether that's climate justice or racial justice, educational equality, whatever it is. You can stand up for it and you say, look, I don't know all the answers, but I'm still going to stand up. I'm still going to fight for it. I'm going to try something about it. And I think that we often look to our changemaker heroes. Maybe someone watching this, maybe you have a changemaker in mind. I think we so often think, oh, well, they're amazing because they just aren't scared. They just are like naturally going to do this. But in having worked with thousands of change makers around the world, we all feel that fear of putting ourselves out there, of starting something new, about going against the grain. But we still find that courage, brave enough to be it. And so I love that way of thinking, in the words of Gorman. So there's always light, if we're brave enough to see it, if we're brave enough to be it, as a way of sort of anchoring our minds around what it takes to actually go lead change.
Oh my gosh. I can, so if folks who have watched my YouTube talk, I can talk about stuff for days. So I love that you said, thank you for quoting Amanda Gorman, but I love that you said always light. And in order to be a change maker, you have to believe there's something better. You have to believe that the light can break through the darkness. You have to first believe that yourself. And I love that. And then you can go, you believe it, and now you go be it. You have to have courage, right? Brene Brown, our favorite, Brene Brown talks about that, courage and vulnerability, right? So we have that courage to go out there and be it, and then you put it into action. And that's what being a change maker is. So talk to me about this. So our audience are teenagers, right? We're talking to 8th through 12th graders. Now on this YouTube channel, we may be talking to everybody, right? But we're trying to get across to teenagers the understanding of human behavior, not only in the workplace, just human behavior, of how they can build self-confidence. And I think you need that. You need that confidence to be able to go out and change the world, right? And you don't have to change the world in droves, right? You can start where you're at, right where you started, right where you're at. So give us some tips, or talk to us a little bit. How can a teenager do this? How can someone, 8th through 12th grade, so that we're going to just guesstimate ages here. We're going to guesstimate, 11, 12 years old, yeah. Right? How can they start being a change maker? and impacting their community, right? Where impacting their household, impacting their school.
One of the bravest things you can do is just to stand up and believe that you can be a leader, that you can be a change maker. But I get it, can often feel really scary, especially if you maybe haven't done it quite yet. It can feel like this like huge leap you're going to take. It might feel like when I was just launching my social venture, Start Some Good, friends and I made the very poor life decision. We decided that we were going to go skydiving, but we were going to use a coupon. And so I showed up to do this jump to save some money. And the pilot was wearing a parachute, which is not exactly trust inducing. Fortunately, I landed on the ground, and I only told my mom about it after I had landed safely. But sometimes this idea of like jumping into being a leader feels like this huge jump you have to make, this huge thing where you go from like, I've got to go jump out of a whole airplane to land, versus like start with some small steps, start with like building up the confidence from doing things in a much smaller way. So here's my encouragement to you. As you think about being a change maker, give yourself permission. Don't wait for someone else to give you that permission. Give it to yourself, because once you give yourself that permission, well, then you start seeing things in a new way.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Give yourself the permission. You hear that out there. You heard Alex Budak said it. Give yourself the permission. And I love that, because when you give yourself the permission, you're saying, okay, it is okay for me to go make this small change, which can create a ripple effect. I know we talk about them all the time, but I always like to go into the effect of what Steve Jobs said. He's like, I'm going to create something that people didn't know they wanted. And that's exactly what he did. He created an iPhone and all these Apple products that we're using, but he changed the world. But it started with, he had to believe he could do it, right? So I love that you brought that up. So I do want to dive just a little bit into, talk to me about the Start Some Good, because you mentioned that. So I love that title of a company. So what was Start Some Good? What did it do? It helped 1,200 change makers, but give me a little bit more feedback about that. I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, I'm glad you like the title, because we spent a lot of time and went through a lot of bad no-name names to get to that one. So I'm glad that it worked out in the end. I think sometimes when you're a social entrepreneur, a change maker, you want to pay attention to things that make you angry in the world, things that don't feel right to you. And so I felt really frustrated based on my belief, having traveled around the world a little bit, lived in India for a little bit, that there's change makers all around the world, but just too many barriers getting in the way. And there's a couple of things that really bothered me. When it comes to people starting good, I believe no one knows better what a community needs than the community itself. But so often we look for people outside of the community, right? So we write grants, and then there's one person in a room somewhere looking at 100 grant applications. They choose one out of the 100, but no one knows better than the community itself what it needs. Let's make funding community centric. And then also this terrible catch-22, which is that it's very hard to raise money until you can prove your impact. But how do you prove your impact until you've raised some money so you can actually start things? And so that's what we'd set out to solve with Start Some Good. So it's a crowdfunding platform. So instead of one person giving lots of money, it's lots of people giving little bits of money. And one of the things that I'm so proud about is that we've had people on the site that have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I love just as much, if not more, the people that just need a little bit of money. So talking about high school students, I remember we had 15 and 16-year-olds from East Oakland, and they wanted to start an urban garden. And literally all they needed was a couple $100. They needed money to buy soil and seeds and some plant beds. And that's what they came to the site for, just a couple $100. Not only were they able to, of course, start that venture to launch that urban garden, but also changes your perspective when you realize, oh, the community is behind me. Like, people want to see this thing happen. It can start a trajectory of change making. And how amazing to start that at age 15 or 16, because it changes the way you think about the rest of your life.
Oh my God. Thank you for mentioning that the 15 and 16-year-olds went out to a crowdfunding platform and said, I want to do something in my community. So teenagers, you hear this, you can do it. You can do it. And they raised, so how much money? You said they only needed a couple hundred. How much?
I think it was $200. Yeah, $200.
Did they raise more than 200 or?
I think a bit more. Yeah, I think a bit more. But yeah.
See, so they went above and beyond that. And I would assume so. Start Some Good is still active and still going.
Still going, still supporting change makers of all kinds around the world. And it's a joy to see the people, then what good they start as a result of it.
I love this. I love this. So thank you so much for this. So I just want to recap a couple things here before, because I do have some fun lightning round questions, but I just want to recap a few things here. One thing that pointed out is always be light. Always have that light within you. You have to believe that you can do the change, right? And I love that. Something that makes you angry, right? There's a lot of things that make me angry. And I think that even me starting the IO for teens, I'm like, how are the teenagers going to know about this beautiful field, right? I'm like, how are they going to know? So something that makes you angry. And I love that you wrote about here, it is scary to jump. It is scary to jump. We're not going to do what you did with your parent, with your mom. Right? But it is scary to jump. But once you take that leap, you know it's something on the inside that, you know what, I'm proud of what I've done. And we want our teenagers and we want people to be proud of that. So any last minute tips or tricks before we jump into the lightning round?
Oh, I think that's a perfect summary. But let me just say that I firmly believe there's never been a better time than right now to be a change maker. I think that the world is so ready for you. And so pay attention to things that make you upset. Pay attention to the ways you think the world can be better than it is. Yeah. Give yourself that permission, because there just has never been a better time than right now to lead change from where you are.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Alex. This just warms our heart, because we're passionate about what we're doing. You know, we're passionate about the field of, so IO is industrial organizational psychology, right? Which is the study of human behavior in the workplace. We're passionate about breaking that down. So we've broken it down into 5 classifications, and we're passionate about breaking that down so teenagers can understand how it can be applied to them and how they can go out and change the world themselves, just based off of that science. So I love it. So here's some lightning round questions. You ready?
Yep, let's go.
All right, here we go. A book you're reading right now.
Well, so as you mentioned in the intro, I have a 2-year-old at home. And so my reading has gone from like more academic and adult books to more kid books. So I'm going to have a kid book, because I think we can learn a lot from kid books. Yes, so my favorite book right now is called Rosie Revere Engineer. It's about this girl who learns, she's a kind of an inventor, and she creates all these wild inventions. And then she learns that failure is the key to keep going on, that we tend to hate failure, but failure actually unlocks so much for us. It's a fun rhyming story, and it's beautifully written, and it's fun, and my toddler loves it.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Favorite vacation spot?
Well, I lived for 3 years in Stockholm, Sweden. And so I'm getting ready to head back there soon. And it's not like your typical vacation spot, because it's cold in the winter, but it's just absolutely beautiful. And so if there's a place I could go back, it'd be Stockholm.
Okay. All right. What is your favorite research?
So I'm a huge fan of Jamil Zaki. He's at Stanford University, and he did this one study. Sorry, I know this is lightning round. It takes a little bit of context, but it's a great study. Yeah. Okay. So he was looking at the power of empathy. So he took 2,000 people, half were Republicans, half were Democrats. And then for half of each group, he had one half of them read this article. These are fake articles, but the fake article, which said that empathy is a weakness. So empathy is sort of being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, see things from their perspective. And so this fake article said, empathy is a weakness. People will take advantage of you. Mm-hmm. The other half read an article that said, empathy is a strength, helps you be more effective in your arguments, and helps you see things from new ways. Mm-hmm. He then had all those people write letters to the person of the opposite political party, making a persuasive argument around gun control. Mm-hmm. And then they looked at the letters. What they found is that those who had been primed, those who had sort of read that article and said that empathy is a strength, wrote way more effective letters. Whereas the ones that hadn't been primed that way, they were divisive. There's animosity. They even had name calling in them. The ones where they didn't were able to see things from someone else's perspective and be more effective. They then had those letters read by completely neutral parties, people that were just reading the letter for the first time. And they found those that saw empathy, that had empathy in their letters, were more effective. So I believe empathy is the right thing to do regardless. But even if you don't think it's the right thing to look out for others, it makes you a more effective person. So to me, that's my favorite study, because I love empathy, and this shows conclusively the power of empathy.
Oh, wow. I could look that study up. That is very powerful. You gotta love research. Okay. All right. 2 more. What are your favorite hobbies? Or what are some of your hobbies?
So I love traveling. I love photography, and working out. Those are my 3 main hobbies right now.
Okay, awesome. And last one, when you're not teaching, if you were not teaching, so if you were not in the career of teaching, what other career would you be doing?
So teaching is like so central to who I am. So I think regardless of what I did, I'd find something that was teaching related, but I think I would go be a coach. So it'd be kind of teaching again, but sort of through the lens of sports.
Yeah. Okay. In particular sport?
I think baseball is what I would coach most likely.
Okay, baseball. Thank you so much, Alex. This has been amazing. So how can folks reach you?
Well, if you want to check out the book, you can go to changemakerbook.com. And then I love connecting with folks. So LinkedIn is my main platform. So find me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'm really responsive. Would love to hear from you. Would love to hear what change you want to lead. So get in touch there.
Okay, awesome. And Jamila, you want to go ahead and tee us up here?
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and share.
Okay.
So everyone, this has been very enlightening. Please continue to follow us on all of our social media platforms. As Marla mentioned at the beginning, please do like and share all of our social media platforms. Our website is www.ioforteens.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as on this platform on YouTube. So please do, again, like and follow and tell people you know about what we're doing. If you've been following us, we are close to finishing up another curriculum chat, so that will be coming up soon as well. If you need to get caught up, the rest of the curriculum chats are down below in your description.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamila. Thank you so much, Alex. And I'm just going to throw this in here. So those of you out there watching, I'm going to say, let's say the first 5 folks to email us at ioforteens.org, ioforteens@gmail.com. Well, we have copies of Alex's book to give out, right? So the first 5 folks to email us, we will send out a copy of his book for free. So please go out there, be the change you want to see. What makes you mad, what makes you angry, go out there and don't break the law now, but but go out there and be that change maker. Alex, we thank you so much for this, and we look to have you back on the show again.
Marla, Jamila, it's been an absolute pleasure joining you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank
really
you so much.
Appreciate it.